Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As promised, this lesson will be about hijab, from a woman to men and women. Recently, there was a video made regarding how men don't understand hijabs. And it was from a very good Muslim American brother who was reacting to a picture of a group of Niqabi women, you know, the face veil that's black and all black, and they were in a classroom studying Quran. And there were many of them, perhaps 30 or so. And he said this image that's portrayed is deliberately portrayed this way to instill fear and loathing to the viewer. Like, oh, here they come. This is some terrorist cell in Pakistan or Afghanistan or somewhere. And just to make the niqab seem ugly, scary. What else could I say? You know, we've been living through this. Ever since I became a Muslim 40 years ago, Islam has been slandered, defamed, portrayed in such a way. I'll give you one example that I can complain about. We were told that in Saudi Arabia, I call it the black bag, even though I wear it, and I love the black niqab, and I love the face veil, and when I'm in Egypt, I wear it all the time. We were told that this is de rigueur. You know, it was absolutely the only way that a Muslim woman should look. And of course, they kicked in with the Iranian Revolution, with the Ayatollah Khomeini, where the woman wear the chador, which is the black piece of cloth, which they just do this when they go out. All right, now here comes my take on it. Everyone knows I'm 76. Everyone knows I didn't wear the hijab for 2 years when I first became a Muslim, the head covering, that is, because I was in America. I wore the long clothes, the long sleeves. I made it loose, not tight. But I didn't really believe that the hijab was a necessity because, as I said, I'm not an Arab. I'm an American. Hair is no big deal for us. Yes, the body is a big deal because if you have a nice figure, that could be seen as enticing to men. Well, after I lived in Egypt for a couple of years, I realized that you should wear it because when you're in a society and you see both, for instance, there's a lot of hijabis and niqabis, and then there were uncovered women. I thought to myself, well, it really is sort of a flag. It's a symbol. And I started to understand that there was wisdom behind it because it would allow women to identify how they choose to be identified. Now, of course, in America, they twisted that up too, and in Europe. Oh, her husband forces her. Her father forces her. Her brother forces her. Anything but her own free will is how it was portrayed. Now, I'm not saying that there are not some families like that, but not the women I met. The majority of women I met in Egypt were, of course, Qurani teachers and women who were serious. All right, that's the intro to this lesson. Now we're going to get down to what I never do, and I always said I will never do, and I don't want to do, my own personal experience, because it's not really that relevant, but now I feel it is. Because now Islam is growing by leaps and bounds. And the funny thing is, it's the Palestinian martyrs and sacrificers who are being the movers and shakers into this new phenomena of everyone wanting to be Muslim. And the Palestinian women that you're seeing, they're all covered. And I don't want to say sadly because Allah doesn't make sadness. These women are usually looking disheveled with dust around them or dust on top of them. Certainly not with ironed headpieces or scarves or whatever. That's what Allah wants. Allah wants you to see the character of these women. They're all wearing the hijab in spite of the fact that they're facing death and their children and their families, and many of them have lost so many relatives to the terrorists We know who they are. Yes, the Zionists that are killing people for no other reason other than they're possessed by Satan. That's number one. And their lust for worldly things. Their golden calf worship, which has been embedded in them. Their worship of money and power. I said I wouldn't make this academic, so I'm going to come back to my own experience. Pardon me if this seems out of character, but it's necessary, and I don't even care about what people say about me or think about me because I think this is important. When I was young, I was raised by nuns since nursery school, and we saw the beautiful nuns in their black and white, they call it the habit. And they were very young then, and they were very energetic, and they were quite lovely, and they were good teachers. I have nothing against nuns at all. But then as I grew older, and I was still in Catholic school, they were still lovely, but then we saw the older ones, and we saw the fat ones, and we saw the ones that weren't so beautiful, but they were all great teachers. And all of us knew that. They were fair, they were strict, but they were merciful. This was my Catholic school. I'll mention it. St. Agnes School in Arlington, Massachusetts. But then what happened? As you start approaching puberty, you start to compare and contrast. Oh, is that the only piece of clothing they are allowed to wear? They can't even change colors? They can't even make it look a little different? No, absolutely not. You enter the convent, you have one outfit, you stay in it forever until you die. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't get it right away. You have to go through degrees of wearing a lighter hijab. And then you actually wear a wedding dress when you're the bride of Christ. I'll do other videos on this, but I don't want to go there right now. I want to stick to my apprehension about this. At first, I thought it was just plain weird. Then I said, oh, well, it's easier. They don't have to wake up and worry about what they're going to wear, as we had a school uniform. But then, when the hormones kicked in, I would say that was about the age of 12, 13. You start to look at boys. And then you start to like boys. And then you start to, as all girls do, play with hairdos, wear some lipstick. Well, what we used to do in Catholic school, we used to hike up our skirt so that we could walk around with like a mini, not a mini, because I'm so old it wasn't even mini then, but we would put it above our knees and then we'd roll it back down again when we got into the school so that we would look respectful with the skirt below our knee. Well, this quickly progresses, as you know, with adolescents. They quickly progress into wanting to be attractive to the opposite sex. Well, I took this full throttle because I don't know why. I guess Satan had targeted me because I was from a very religious family with priests and nuns. And perhaps he just wanted to destroy any kind of a modest aspect of my personality. So I was the one that always had, I don't want to call it the sexiest clothes or the tiniest bikini, but yeah, kind of like. That was my teenage life. And that progressed along the years to being an obsession with how I looked. And always, I wouldn't even go to the supermarket unless I was perfect. And then before I get out the door, I'd look in the rearview mirror to make sure that, my lipstick was on right or my hair was combed properly, whatever. So I was vain and I was projecting an image of, let's say, alluring. I didn't mean to. It wasn't about trying to get men. Honestly, it wasn't. I just liked to be pretty. And I liked fashion. And I wanted to always, every day, you have to pick out your clothes. Then you put on nail polish to match your clothes. I did this in graduate school. I was preparing the colors when I was doing a master's and PhD. I was somehow compromised. I was schizophrenic because I cared too much about the appearances and I also was extremely intellectual. So how did this translate into something bad? My 3 husbands. You see, men marry with their eyes, not with their brain. Now, this gets to the crux of the matter, lub al-mawdua, as we say in Arabic. All of my husbands complained that I was too strong, too cerebral, too much involved with reading books, too much involved with what was going on politically, because I did care back in the day when I kind of believed in politics, not anymore. But their complaint was always, why are you too serious? Now, mind you, I don't know. Allah created me to care about things. And one of the ways you can learn to care properly is you read, right? All this time, I'm still looking the Barbie, I call it the Barbie image. They weren't getting short shrifted in what they wanted in a wife. They would come home, all three of them, 2 Americans and 1 Egyptian, and the house would be spotless and the meals would be prepared and I was decked. Never once did they come home to see a housewifey, raggedy lady, because I was still being that kind of, I call it, it's a bit of a sickness. Vanity is a sickness. Love for material things is a sickness. And all I know is, see, that's enough of my personal life. All I know is that when I read that verse where Allah says, tell the believing women to cover themselves from head to toe, that is better for them so that they will be known and not bothered. This is the essence of this video. This verse has been twisted to mean, oh, are all of these Muslim Arab men so animalistic that they can't even see a woman without jumping on her? Does this mean that we have to be so dull and drab that we are going to be in the shadows while the males of the Middle East, as we well know, always go out looking fine? And he's got the hijabi wife. And I remember the first time I saw it, I was on a bus trip down to Sharm el-Sheikh, which is on the Red Sea diving, before I was Muslim. And I was down visiting with my son, and these 2 people came on the bus, a totally black niqabi, covered from head to toe, with her dude husband. He was wearing a white thobe, but yeah, a white thobe. And then when we stopped to get a cold drink, she's drinking the Coke through a straw under her niqab. You know, she's putting the Coke bottle under. And my son said, Mom, what's going on here? This is my son from my first marriage. He said, what is this weirdness? And then when we got to the beach, she's sitting all covered. And, oh, wait a minute. You all know I have white hair. It doesn't bother me. It shouldn't bother you. But I still wear my hijab because it's a flag. And my son thought this was oppression. He said, look at this poor woman sitting hot on the beach while her husband's swimming. Little did either of us know that that would be me 20 odd years later. So when Allah says, so that you will be known and not bothered, that verse of the Quran has nothing to do with the animalistic nature. You see, they always promote that aspect, that you're a piece of meat or you're eye candy and you have to cover yourself all up because these Arab men don't know how to control themselves. There's no human rights. No. So that you will be known and not bothered. Be known means people are going to take you seriously. People are going to know that if you wear the hijab or the niqab, both do the same job. That it's like a big stop sign that you say, no, stop sign, limit here, limit. No dirty jokes, no come-ons, no innuendos. Just don't go there, okay? Because as you know, chemistry between men and women is real. So this, in a way, puts a barrier. Now, of course, sometimes you can cross a barrier no matter what. But for me, I always say, and I'm going to say it loud and clear, I don't mind. If I had been covered and were not wearing sexy clothes And I had this long blonde hair, I told you, Barbie looking girl. I don't think any one of those husbands would have chosen me. Would anyone have chosen me? Yeah, somebody would have. Somebody that Allah would have sent, who saw me as a complete human, not just a physical woman. Someone would feel your character and your heart and your mind, which has always been my problem with men. I think Allah did all this. Well, Allah does everything with great wisdom. He's called Hakim. Hakim, El-Hakim. He is the most wise and he is the most perfect in his qadar, which is your path, your destiny that he gives you. So now, at the age of 76, I'm coming forward with advice to women mainly, especially young women who are so vulnerable in this TikTok. What is it called now? What do we have? Not just YouTube. We have Instagram and TikTok, which everyone tries to push me to be in, and I won't, because it's enough wasted time with my smartphone with YouTube. And then you have Only Girls. That's another one. What's the other ones? There's like 5 of these major satanic temptations that once your phone gets in your hand, you're all going to be looking at each other. So maybe that will make you understand of what happens when there's too much market availability in general, especially if we're in troubled times where people are feeling anxiety, depression, insecurity. They're not satisfied. And then we had the COVID. Everyone's at home on their tablet or their laptop. Oh, well, how easy is that to just click and get lost in some pictures, let alone porno? That's my take on the hijab. What it did for me, I believe what Allah meant it to be. Allah meant it to be like a vaccination. You know, you're afraid you're going to get sick, even though I don't believe in vaccinations. Shh, don't say that. But I don't. But you know, if you have something, you get inoculated with a bit of the disease so that you don't fall victim to it. The hijab is a form of protection for women so they don't make a living on their looks. You shouldn't depend on your looks because they fade, and there's always going to be somebody prettier than you anywhere you go. You're going to waste lots of money. Look what we've come to now. We've come to Botox injections. High school kids get them. We have cosmetic surgery where you have to change your nose. We have literally twisted women up with deception. It's satanic, as we know. He's the great deceiving whisperer, to make them think that this is going to make them happy. A new outfit, a new hairdo, a new cosmetic. I was there. And I was there until literally when I stopped, probably 42, when I wore the hijab in Egypt. I was 42 when I first wore, this kind. And then after that, I was probably 48 when I wore the Niqab. This kind. Black, because I love it. I hope this has helped you. And I do plan on doing more person-to-person, simple topics, hopefully less than 10 minutes. But I've been gone for a long time from YouTube videos because my life has been in constant flux. So I have all I can do to read my 2 juz every day, study some Arabic, read my Tawheed. I do stuff, and I realize now I'm being selfish because it's all about studying more, which is what I prefer to do in my life. And I hope Allah gives me a release, opens the cage, lets me out to help people more. So I'm going to start now this way with my YouTube videos and my YouTube channel, which I know I make many techno mistakes because I don't know what I'm doing, but I think it makes it better that way. because it's kind of like homegrown, simple, not perfect. Oh, it's more than not perfect. Sometimes my videos are hard to watch because I make mistakes even closing by saying salam alaikum and I press this button, right? See you soon.